Can you design a save or die encounter that still feels fair? I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. One of the most misunderstood aspects of old school D&D is the save or die effect. Basically, that means if you do something or encounter something, you get a saving throw, and if you fail your saving throw, your character is dead or effectively dead. And a lot of people think that's just an unfair thing and it's too random and so forth. And I think that has to do a lot with how they are used by the DM. And as an example, I want to take an encounter with a Medusa. Let's examine how that works. Medusae are hateful humanoid creatures which dwell in dark caves or caverns, venturing forth on occasion to seek prey. They try to beguile humans to look into their eyes. The gaze of a Medusa's eyes will turn creatures within 30 feet to stone unless they make their saving throw versus petrifaction. If an opponent averts his eyes, the Medusa rushes up so that its asp-like head growth can bite at the victim. The range of such attacks is but 1 foot, and the victim bitten must save versus poison or die. If the Medusa's gaze is reflected back, the creature will turn itself to stone. Medusae speak both their tongue and the common one. Medusae are able to see astral and ethereal creatures, and their petrifying gaze is as effective on those planes as it is on the material. The body of a Medusa appears quite shapely and human. They typically wear human clothing. However, the face is of a horrid visage, and its snaky hair writhes so that at close distance, 20 feet, this gives the creature away. The glaring red-rimmed eyes of a Medusa are visible clearly at 30 feet. So now that we've got the basics down about how a Medusa works, I want to go through this problem here of taking what appears to be an unfair save or die encounter and turning it into something that really becomes a worthy old school encounter. And what I mean by that is Gygax always liked to challenge the players, not just the characters. Sometimes this meant that he would rely on, like a puzzle in Castle Greyhawk would rely on like your player knowledge. You as a person had to know something, and that would let your character go forward. So that's the kind of thing I mean when I'm saying, we want this to challenge the players as much as it does the actual characters. So you have to think about it. You got to analyze the clues. You got to look at the tactical situation. And if you make good choices and you're sufficiently lucky, you're going to be able to survive the encounter. So that's the goal here. So like a Medusa will seem like a gotcha a lot of times, and that's because you open the door, there's Medusa there, boom, and you get zapped. That's not the way to use a Medusa, and this is going to apply to just about any sort of this kind of encounter, right? I'm just using Medusas as an example. But what you want to do is turn that you open a door and you get turned to stone into a tactical environmental kind of puzzle that the players can work through and figure out what's coming and how to deal with it. So there's something called the rule of three, right? Which is basically you have these concentric circles of warnings. And at the outermost level, let's say you have a level in your dungeon and there's a Medusa in there somewhere. The outermost level of warning is there could be a rumor in the nearby town saying, "Hey, I hear there's a Medusa in that dungeon." That gives the players a heads up that, hey, I might have to deal with this at some point, but it doesn't give you any clue as to where it is in the dungeon or what its motives are or what the tactical situation is going to be. But it does give the players a heads up. Hey, something, this could happen to you. You might want to prepare a little. So that's the outer level, right? And then the innermost, the next rung, the next circle of of the rule of three is you're going to see more and more signs that the Medusa is there and active. And naturally, this is going to come in the form of, well, it could come in a couple of different forms. You could find a dead body that looks like it's been killed by a snake, right? You see a snake bite on its neck or whatever. You know, most of the time you're going to think, okay, there's poisonous snakes in this dungeon. But if you combine that clue with the rumor that you heard in the town, and you think, oh, wait a minute, a Medusa doesn't just have its gaze, it also has the snakes. That could give you an idea, right? That's a clever clue for players to figure out. You could also find bits of statuary, right? Like you could find not just a whole statue of someone going, but you want a like an arm, like a broken off arm, just sitting on the floor. That could give you a clue that, hey, yeah, there's something that's around here. And because it's just a fragment of a statue and not an entire statue, it's going to take a little more analysis to figure out, oh, right, an arm made of stone, statue, Medusa. Okay, now I know it. And you have a few more of these as you get closer and closer to the Medusa's lair. Because the closer you are to the layer, the more active it's going to be, and thus the more signs of its presence are going to be there. And then, if in the layer itself, like, but you might not even see the Medusa yet, but you could see, a statue in the chamber itself, right? Make the chamber big enough so that it becomes, it's not just you open the door and there's the Medusa staring you in the face. It's you open the door and there's this big chamber, maybe with pillars, like in Clash of the Titans, pillars, and you're going to have little steps and platforms and stuff, make it a little visually interesting. Now, here's the thing, though, because you want to give the players a chance to make meaningful tactical decisions, right? So what's the thing you're going to do? Okay, we know there's a Medusa. We suspect there's a Medusa in here. What are we going to do? We're going to blindfold ourselves. Okay, that's fine. So you get a -4 to hit because you're fighting blind, but you also don't know where anything is. So the Medusa is going to be able to sneak up on you and get you with its asp hair, and you're going to die of poison. So you have to make a tactical decision of, do you take the blindfold off for a second, hoping that the Medusa isn't nearby, and then you put the blindfold back on? And the reason you want to do that is so that you can see the layout of the place, right? You can process the information. Oh, there's these pillars here. If I hide behind a pillar, I might have a chance. And also going off of the encounter in Clash of the Titans, what if there are like there's a shield or mirror or something on the wall, right? You can use that, and if you're a good DM, you're going to give your players these opportunities, right? Don't just if you don't give them the opportunity to have a chance, then it becomes an unfair encounter. But if you put a mirror in there, or if you put a highly polished shield on the wall or something like that, the player can make the choice, and it's a calculated risk, but you can make the choice to quickly pull it up and pull up his blindfold, put it back down, and he notices, oh, there's a highly polished shield on the wall. So you can blindly go over to it, take it, and then use the shield to peek around the corners, peek around the pillars, and maybe see where that Medusa is. That's the kind of thing. That's what turns a killer encounter into a really tense tactical encounter, because it's almost like a push your luck game, right? If I was a DM at first, I would make it pretty a pretty low percentage chance that the Medusa is going to be right there when you decide to take off your blindfold. But the more times you do that to get a little more lay of the land, the higher the chances are going to be that it notices you're there and it's going to go over there. Now, there's also and that way it becomes almost a push your luck game, right? If you've ever played it, there's a dice game called Cosmic Wimp Out. If you've ever played that, you keep rolling, you keep rolling, you keep rolling, so that you advance on the board, and then but if you don't score anything, you go back all the way to the end. This is the same sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to peak, and then I'm going to do my stuff, and then I'm going to peak again. And every time you peak, it increases the odds that Medusa is going to be right there when you peak. So you want to use it sparingly, and they should know that. They should, even if even if you as the DM say, you keep doing that, there's a chance it's going to be there. Give them that fear, right? Give them that little tingle of fear, like, yeah, do I take the chance? Is it worth taking the chance? But make it worth the chance, at least at the beginning, and then make it harder and harder and harder as it goes on. You want to give that chance to make it a meaningful choice on the player's part. When you make it a meaningful choice, not just a blind choice, no pun intended, then you're going to make it all the more sweet when they win. right? Because they made the right choices. They made the right decisions. They saw the shield on the wall. They went for it, used it as a mirror, or even better, they brought a mirror with them and they're using it to peek around the corners. That's even better. If they heard that rumor, they might want to invest in that silver mirror. It's good for things other than vampires. So you have that combination there of an interesting tactical situation that gives the players places to hide, right? Because you have all those pillars, and this is just an example from a movie. But you could do the same sort of thing in your dungeon. You have this interesting tactical situation where there's little steps and little platforms and pillars and shiny things on the walls, and the Medusa's there, and you can give them a way to interact with the environment that actually increases their chances of winning. Now, there was another little tidbit. I don't know if you caught that in the description of the Medusa, and that is the difference between when you see the things writhing in her hair is 20 feet, but you can see her red rimmed eyes at 30 feet. So you can actually see. You actually have a clue that she's there because you can see these glowing eyes off in the distance. It doesn't necessarily scream, "Hey, that's a Medusa." There's a lot of things that could do that, but it is a clue, and especially if you give those concentric circles, those ever increasing signs of occupancy, and then you match it with that clue, that will tell a smart and experienced player, "Hey, that's where the Medusa is." So make sure you give them that give them those clues, give them those opportunities to make the right choice and make the right inferences. And then thus do you turn a gotcha roll or die encounter into a very interesting, hey, we figured out what's going on here and we made great tactical choices to overcome the bad guy encounter. And that, I think, is really going to impress your players, and they're going to feel a real sense of accomplishment when they go through all those steps and they come out the winner. So anyway, hope you like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really do read them all, and if I'd love to hear how you've worked with this sort of thing in the past. Giving subtle little clues, and then they're not so subtle, and then there's the big bad guy. How you deal with save or die mechanics. Has this changed your mind if you were against them? I hope the answer is yes, but if not, I still want to hear. So hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Please don't forget to subscribe. It really does matter, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss a video. So have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later.